Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to be here this evening. Good evening. My name is Ronnie, and I am your handcuff for this evening. Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? I'm so glad you're able to come back to this evening session. And if you were in the first session in the morning, you know what you got. I know what I got. So you are in for a treat this evening. I want you all to engage with me and let me see your fire emojis. Can I see you if you were in the first session? Can I see your emoji if you're here this evening and you were here in the morning as well? How was that for you? What I want some takeaways. I want some takeaways as well from the morning. I need you to engage and tell me what you got from the morning session. Are you here this evening? Are you here? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. It was great. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Yes, it was. Can you drop me can you drop me like the most? It was enlightening, amazing, Auntie. It was. If you can drop like something that meant so much to you that you didn't know or you didn't think of, but you're going to run with. Yes, I agree. It was an eye opener. It was an eye opener. It was amazing. I got so much nuggets. My note was full. I had to tell myself I need to go back and start again because the first session was amazing. The second speaker knocked it out of the park. And then we came to the fire chat, and it was like, these women, they came for us. Respect my children's choices. Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the way it was explained, I used to think that I respect my children's choices, but I saw that there is a way you can actually engage with them, because I say something like, oh, I respect their choices, but I still want to tell them what to do, you know. I think the speakers, they put me in my place this morning and they let me know that I can respect their choice and they will end up making the right choice, knowing that the children can actually have agency for themselves and make the right choice. Trust in them. Let them think through process. Let them think through what you're telling them. Engage in their friendship. There were so many things that I got this morning. Engage in their friendship. And the education system, the first session in the morning about knowing, maintaining dual identities. Absolutely, absolutely. Don't be so hard on yourself, thinking, oh, I don't want them to be so too British, but then I want them to still have that, yeah, honestly, it isn't everything that was addressed was something that we struggle with in my house. And to hear it, the way the speakers broke it out was just amazing. Find out the curriculum for my children and how they are assessed or what they are assessed against. Yes, that one really, really threw me. I said to Sonia after the session, I said, I needed that first session about 4 weeks ago. That is, that was not just a nugget, that was a master class I needed 4 weeks ago when I was going through the application for my son's secondary school. So yes, understanding how they are assessed is not just about looking at the school, looking at the grades. It's knowing how my child will be assessed against the grade, on what flight. Is it flight pathway? Yeah, the flight pathway they are put on. Honestly, it was everything this morning was amazing. And I am so excited for this evening. I'm so happy that, in this community, you get not just what is the word now, not just crumbs. It's like you're getting the full bread, you're getting a full meal, what you need to make a change, what you need to navigate through life, even if you're not even if you're not just somebody who just relocated, even if you've been here for 10, 20 years, there are still a lot of things that you can learn and you can implement to do better. So yes, it was so full and so impactful. And if you're here this evening and you were not here this morning, please go back and watch it. please do not go without a pen and paper, because there was so much information, flying around. And it was just amazing. Thank you so much for engaging. I really, really appreciate you. Don't be in a hurry to leave the playground when picking the children up. Oh God, guilty as charged. There are times when I'm thinking, no, I really don't want to engage in conversation. I just want to uh, be by myself or just pick up the kids. But yes, these children, those are the ones that your children talk to. You need to know the parents, you need to engage, you need to be more involved in their friendship and their thought process, as well as being prayerful. Sometimes if you don't know what is even going wrong, how would you know how to direct your prayer points? Let's say your child is close to a child that maybe you don't like what you're seeing. If you don't know, you just hear the name, oh, Lily, Lily, Lily. You don't know Lily's parents, you don't know what Lily's parents believe, or, and there's no Lily. I just made her up. You don't know what Lily's parents believe, or so it is that and it is that engagement that will allow you to know that, what, these parents that I'm talking to on the playground, I actually don't like them. Or these parents that I'm actually talking to, or this lady, I like the parent, I like what I'm engaging with. Not necessarily just look them on face value, but because you have engaged, now you actually have substance. So you're not judging a book by the cover, because sometimes we can do that. Oh, they're white. No, I'm not going to engage. And yes, another thing I learned this morning is don't try to stay in your bubble. We Africans, we can do that sometimes. We just stay with the Africans, the ones that speak your language, and those are the ones you engage with, and you leave all the other people in the playground. But your children don't see those, they don't make friends based on color. They don't, that's not how they make friends. They connect with someone, they will connect. Don't stay in your own bubble. Absolutely. So thank you all so much. This morning, we can just think there, we can just review and have conversation about this morning. But this evening we have sessions, another wonderful, wonderful session for you. And I'm just going to quickly, before I introduce our next speaker, I'm going to invite you all, to our host, the one who has anchored this event, the one who has made it a life mission to make this information that seems to be like, oh, people struggle to get. She's decided that this information must go viral. Everybody must know how to thrive in the diaspora, while we're trying to build a different life for ourselves from what we're used to, from where we came from. So she has a book. I need a drum roll. Brrr, pam. Abby Sonia has written a book, and I am inviting every single one of you to this book launch. It is called Inner Harmony. Inner Harmony, finding your inner harmony, and managing, as you're managing through life, managing stress, managing expectation, managing everything that life will throw at you. The truth of the matter is, if there's anything I have learned, even from Sonia and from other people that I engage with, is that nobody has it easy. Everybody is juggling one or two things. People are juggling through, life changes. People are juggling through health challenges. They're juggling through career change, childbirth, marriages, home move, lot of things, debts, um, you know, um, whatever it is that you're juggling with, every other person is also juggling through the same thing. It might not be the same, but if you really take a mirror and look at our life, it's very identical. But how do you actually do life without the inner turmoil, without burnout? So this is something that Abisonia is very passionate about, making sure that women have a way to restore themselves in all of in everything that we do, that we have a way to find our inner harmony, that we avoid burnout. Or how do we come out from that feeling of overwhelm? How do we come out from burnout? And she has done us a massive favor by putting it in a book. So she's launching her first book on the 7th of December 2024. Yes, I am also looking forward to this evening. Absolutely, Vanessa. So please, if you are on YouTube on the 7th of December. Please save the date right now. So even if you're not going to be on YouTube, you will be on that day. You are invited. We're going to be streaming it live, and this is going to be like a wonderful, wonderful time in launching this book. So you are all invited. Subscribe. Encourage others to subscribe, like the channel, share what you're learning, and also invite others to the book launch. You are all invited. So thank you so much. So this evening, I have the honor of introducing our next speaker to you. So if you give me 1 minute, this is somebody that I know very well, but I want to do it justice. So I have put it down because I have the privilege of calling this person a friend. So I am excited to introduce, the one and only our, our convener for this evening. Abisonia is our convener this evening. And if you don't know her, please, this is the time to subscribe to this channel so that you can see more of her content and you can see what she brings. She just doesn't bring events. She brings events that is life-changing, like the one we're currently having. And I have the honor of introducing Abisonia this evening. So we are thrilled to introduce a truly inspiring force in the world of positive transformation. Abi Sonia Ebenezer Bamigbayan, with a decade of expertise in education and a deep commitment to mental and emotional well-being. Abisonia has touched countless lives as a mentor, as a life coach, and as a counselor. Her achievements span far and wide, from founding the ASEB consultancy to leading the Burnout Awareness Summits, and from impactful school-based mental health intervention to sharing practical insights on a podcast, Authentic Thriving. If you haven't followed that podcast, this is the time to do so. You can find it on all podcast platforms. Subscribe right now. It's called Authentic Thriving by Abisonia. Abisonia is also a powerful advocate for cultural integration, mental health, and family harmony, reaching thousands through a YouTube channel and annual parenting conference. So please join me this evening as Abisonia shares her insights grounded in family system, engineering, positive psychology, and more. You will be learning about a journey of fostering mental resilience, stress management, and well-being, which makes her a vital voice in our conference. So please welcome this evening, Abisonia. Hello, sis.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have been super, super, super amazing this evening. Thank you so much, sis. I really do appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for everyone that has come back this evening, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. So I'm just gonna dive in right now and I'll bring you back on. Is that okay? Okay, sis. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us back this evening. And we've just got two more sessions to go. So I will just quickly dive in to my slide. So today I'm going to be speaking on mental well-being for diaspora parents and families, addressing stress and anxiety. A lot of people think that, okay, when we relocate, everything is going to be fine and we're just going to be okay. We're just going to get a job. But the truth is, any transition in life is stressful. Any transition is a transition from maybe moving from one place to another, transitioning from being a single person to getting married, transitioning from being a single person to having your own family is stressful. Changing a job is stressful. Any change at all is bound to disrupt something in your life. And as a result, when people see relocation or they see transitioning as any other thing, it just baffles me because that's not 100% true. It affects our mental health. But before I dive into that, what is mental health? If I should ask people in this place that do you have mental health, I'm sure a lot of people will like, no, 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 no. I don't have mental health. I don't have mental health. But the truth is, we do have mental health. All of us do. But I didn't ask you if you had mental health challenges. I said, do you have mental health? Our mental health is our ability to think, to process things. It helps us to be able to cope with situations. It helps us to be able to blend in the community and do different things that we want to do. So it's our ability to think. So we all have it. However, these changes that disrupt different things in our life, it tend to impact it the way you're thinking, because you have a lot of things. When you're unfamiliar with the environment, it will affect you in one way or the other. I know a lot of people use these two terms interchangeably: emotional health, mental health, but they are a bit different because one deals with the matter of the heart, and then the other one deals with the matter of the head. And then another one deals with the emotions, while the other one deals with our ability to think and process things with clarity. So they are a bit different. When you are in a new environment where we have our own cultural values, and then you have the culture of the society. Even the Bible said, give what belongs to Caesar, isn't it? So when we are in a new place like this, you're trying to balance your cultural heritage or whatever heritage that you have. You're trying to balance it so you don't lose your identity. You're trying to balance it with the culture, the changes in terms of the way you relate to people. In Africa, you know the people in your community, but in this place, it's very, very conservative, right? You don't have to know your neighbor if you don't want to. People might live in an area, they don't even know the names of their neighbors, except you intentionally go out of your way to then integrate before you begin to know these people, because people are very private. So as a result of that, things like this can affect you. You might be thinking, why are they not saying hi to me? You say hello to someone and they just go hi and they just walk past you very briskly. All these changes. Back home, if you're going out, you can leave your child with your neighbor. In this place, it's not necessarily like that. All of these changes affect us. That connection that we take for granted back home is very, very expensive here, because people are not willingly open like that. So there are loads of changes that will shake you to your core. Now, how do we even know that we have good mental health? You have empathy, you are spiritually sound in terms of you have the time to build your spirituality, sense of belonging, like I said before, liaising with your interacting with your neighbors. You have the ability to think clear. If you have a problem, they said a problem shared is half solved. So you can share it with people and you're cool. You need assistance, you can ask someone to help you and they will quickly help you. But in the diaspora, you have to start all over again. Get to know people, get into community, start getting to trust people. Not everybody you will just devour information about yourself to. You see, all of these changes is a lot. Now, let's dive in into these changes. What are these changes that affect us? What are they? Let's talk about it. Let's see if I can make this big full screen. Okay, so that I can move away. Right, okay. So what are the things? Can you still hear me? Let me see. I think I will just put it back. Okay, so one of the things that shake us is the gang culture. If you're someone that came as a family, you are thinking, and the news, there's always one stabbing or there is people joining gang, and you begin to worry about the well-being of your family, of your children, the influences around them. You start worrying about this. If your children go out, thank you so much for the response. If your children go out, you're thinking, will they come back? Who are the people they are supposed to associate with? You start panicking. What do I tell my children? How do I grant them? All of these things affect our mental well-being. My daughter just started college and I'm thinking, okay, this is not the time where you are always, oh, I'll pick you up, I'll drop you up. You have to create some independence. You're thinking, how do I model things to this child to ensure that they are ingrained in their values? Things like this will affect the way we're thinking. It will affect our emotions. When you get the odd phone calls, you're wondering, who is this? What is this about? So if your child call you, then you are okay. Before she get on the bus, she has to call. When she's coming down, she has to call. Especially now that the weather is very dark. All of these things, when your children are still in primary school, is one, there is something to worry about. But when they start growing and getting into that teenagehood, it's a different ball game. There's so many things to think about. There's so many things to worry about. Okay. And then you're thinking about the support system, poor support system. People at home are enjoying. You give birth, there are people coming to come and help you birth your baby. I remember when I had my baby, the first one, my mom was here. The second one, she was not able to make it. My goodness. I had to look for people that will help me bathe the baby because there's a way we Africans will bathe our baby, we mold the body, we do everything, we stretch and everything. I was really longing for that, for someone to do that. So imagine leaving your country and coming here, and then you don't have people that are readily able to do that for you. You will miss it, it will affect you. The cultural integration as well. There are some people that are very fussy about what they eat, about the different changes in cultures and all of those stuff. The respect, we've talked about that extensively in the morning. Things like that will shake you and impart your emotions as well. The educational integration, you're wondering if your child is doing well in school or if they are going to settle well in school, if they are going to integrate with other students, if they come in and things happen, you are wondering how are they settling in. What about you? Integration as well. When you get to work, I remember there was a day I took food to work and there was fish with it. And someone said, "What is that smell?" when the food came out of the microwave. Oh my goodness, that was so offensive. Really, really offensive. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that." At least she was kind enough to apologize. But some people would not even be kind enough. If you bring out fish where an African person, they wouldn't say your food smell, right? But other cultures, they find the smell of fish very, very strong. And things like this can start affecting you. Your accent as well. Someone told me I thought I could speak good English when I was in Nigeria. But when I'm speaking to people, they keep telling me, "Pardon, pardon, I can hear you." And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Things like this can impact you, right? Then the settlement factor, you're thinking about, when am I going to get my COS? When am I going to get my settlement? When am I going to do all sort of things? You are thinking a lot of things. And your children as well, if they are getting into uni, they are thinking about the school fees because they will be paying international school fees. Those are the economic factor as well. If you don't have a place of your own, you're thinking of your money is going down, but you still don't have a place, you don't have a steady job that will be able to give you that income that you need to be able to survive. A lot of things affect us in diaspora. It's so different. So many things affect us that we mustn't trivialize just because it's happening to a lot of people. We mustn't trivialize it. We have to pay attention to how these things are affecting us and what can we do. Because even as an adult, even though you can manage it, but what about your family? What about your children? How are they able to manage it? And how is it impacting your mood as a result of all of these factors that I've just spoken about? How is it impacting your mood? Now, how does these factors impact us? There is a belief that, okay, if I'm not able to make provision for my children, because our thought goes in a secular way, in a belief, it starts from the belief. If you believe that one that cannot provide for their family, there is something wrong with them, that will affect your thoughts. And it can lead to you having this sad, continuous sad feeling, or you getting anxious about the future. How am I going to be able to provide? That thought alone can trigger a lot of things. And before you know it, your actions, to start reflecting your actions, and then there's a resultant experience. It just goes in a cyclical way. When you find yourself in this circle for too long, it can lead to stress, can lead to, if you stay in that state for too long, it can lead to chronic stress. It can lead to anxiety, depression, and all sort of mental things or mental health challenges. And now you might be thinking, how do I even know if I'm stressed out or not? There are so many signs for you to know if you are stressed out. There are so many signs there that that can help you to find out if you are stressed out. Things like you feeling lonely. There was someone that was telling me, my goodness, people are so boring in the UK. You are so boring. There is nowhere to go. Even the weather. There are some people that have problem with the weather. Because right now it's almost 6 o'clock, but it looks as if it's 8 o'clock if you check outside. So all of these things, affective disorder, weather changes, the disorder that come with weather is also there. You become nauseous, you are easily irritated, you are tensed, you are restless, you are nervous. All of these things are signs that things are not okay. And this can lead to parental anxiety, the factors that I talked about. Please do not suffer in silence. Pay attention to the signs that your body is giving you, because your body always speaks if only we will pay attention. Even a relationship, you that never raise your voice with your spouse, before you know it, you're arguing. Your poor child is sitting down and having a look. What is going on? Your wife is telling you the light is gone off. There is no electricity. The gas is gone off. How do we make the next meal? Stress, arguments. If you are going through this, please pay attention and find a way to sort it out. How do you know you are having mental challenges? Is it with your children? Is it with the teenagers? They start pulling away from activities. A child that is normally very, very bubbly is not very quiet, or it can go the other way. It might be the parent as well, it might be the child, but these are signs. So a change in personality, it just shows that something is not right, especially when it becomes persistent. It's not a one-off, it's persistent. This child is now avoiding you, or this child is now loud and not very aggressive. There is always something behind a certain behavior. When you start feeling helpless, when you start experiencing mood swing, when you start experiencing things like harming yourself, what's the point? Why did I even relocate? Inability to perform daily tasks. When you start paying, when you start experiencing things like this is the time you need to talk to someone. You need to build up your network to be able to find help as soon as possible, because no one is an island of his or her step. I've talked about this, and you may be wondering, okay, we do know that living in diaspora as a parent and all of these things can be challenging. How then how do we manage this? How do we mitigate these circumstances? As a parent, as a family, the first thing is a vision. Before you got married, there was a vision. Before you relocated to a different place, there is a vision. As you are parenting your child, even if you did not relocate, there is a vision for you starting, whether it's a business, whether it's a career. As a family, there's also a vision. What is the kind of family that you intended to raise? Is it a family full of genius? Is it a family, a godly family? Is it a family that there's some family, all they do, like Serena Williams and Vanessa Williams, their sport family? That is the kind of family that the parents envisaged they were going to have. What kind of family do you envisage to have? And what is the story that you are going to build together? What is that story that you are going to build in order to help you? What story do you need to tell? Because once the parents agree together as a family that this is the kind of family I want to raise, both of you agree together, agree on your values, you will bring the story to your children. I am saying this because it works. I came to this country in my early 20s for further studies. My parents wasn't here. It was just myself and my elder sister. A lot of things happened. A lot of things. There are so many people. Some got stabbed. Some got arrested. Some were deported. A lot of things happened. Not everybody made it. It's my 20th year in this country today. How did I survive as a young adult without having any police record, without having any dent on my name? My parents wasn't here. It was because of these steps that I'm showing you. That is the reason why I didn't have it. My parents, I knew their story from humble background. My mom and my dad, I knew their story. I knew my mother she's a great storyteller. She would tell you a story. My parents were great storyteller. They told us their story. So I knew that a good name was better than wealth. I knew that a good name was better than wealth. So no matter what we saw, no matter the challenges that we saw, going with the Joneses to meet up with the Joneses was not an option, because I knew that if anything should happen and my name is soiled, I would have disgraced my family, I would have disgraced myself. So even though my parents were not here, so just myself and my elder sister, I remember that story. What stories are you telling your children about your family? irrespective of the gang culture, irrespective of the gun, irrespective of the different types of vape, irrespective of cannabis, irrespective of weed, anything that is going on in this country, irrespective of the perverse culture that is going on. It doesn't matter. What stories are you telling your children about you? Tell your story to your children because they will forget you telling them off. They might not always remember. You see those stories? They will never forget it. Your children will remember the stories. That is what happened to me. I remember the stories. I remember the consequences. I remember the reward of his stories. And we stayed on the straight and the narrow. And then your family values. There's something we do in my family. We have an acronym, flip HPSROSK. So when you give those children the values, you tell them the stories, the kind of family you want to raise up, then you need to tell them the values. Not just tell them, sell it to them. Let them understand. In this family, we are respectful. In this family, we have integrity. What does it look like to have integrity? You say only the things you want to do and you do only the things you meant to do. You keep to your word and you do not for any reason let people down or put your hands into things that are not right. So those are the stories. Each of those values stand for something. We have fairness, we have love, we have spirituality, we have honesty, we have kindness. So when my children do things, what we ask them, was that kind? You bring them back, root them back to that values. Was that kind? Does it mean that my children are perfect? No, far from it. But what I'm trying to say, we are planting the seed of the values inside them so that when myself and my husband are not there, our values will speak for them. Because what I tell them, we may not always be there. But before you make a decision, before you make a choice, go through your values. If any of those choices is contrary to your values, then you shouldn't do it. Then you don't have to call me and say you didn't have credit, or maybe I couldn't reach you, the network was not connecting. The values are there. Did you run your decisions through your values? This action you are going to take, will it work against your integrity? Is it a kind act? Is it against your spiritual belief? Is it a love thing? Philippians 4, verse 7 to 9 said, whatsoever we think, we should think about, is it kind? Is it excellent? So I'm teaching them how to build their values, how to run their decisions, so they become independent decision makers. When you do this, even when their friends are telling them things, it will not work because they're like, this is not kind, I can't do it. This is not it. I'm sorry, I can't be here. They will make that decision. So you form a family creed. What is a family creed? You form a story. So after you form that story, you use your values and knit it into a different creed. We are a kind family, and we do only the things that we know we can uphold. That's integrity. So you turn it into a story. The more you tell your children these things, the more you model it over and over again. You will see your children, even though they are in the midst of wolves in the class, they will stand tall with their values. It works. I'm a product of it. Role model. You have to role model this. You can't tell your children, don't do this, and then you will not do it. Do as I say, not as I do. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I remember a child asked me in Sunday school. He said, Sonia, my father said we should not drink or smoke. But do you know my parents? My dad, he smokes. How do I reconcile that? That was a fair question. You said do not drink, but you are drinking. I had a case of someone that lost their child. And the man said, if I could swap everything and have my daughter back, I will. What happened? The child became alcoholic. He was being bullied. The parents were working too much. They did not notice that this child was getting bullied in school. He saw that the parents were already arguing because they were working a lot. He did not want to add to their plates. So what will he do? When he was struggling with the bullying, he took drink from the father's cupboard and he was drinking it. This boy was a functional alcoholic and the parents did not know. He was naturally intelligent. It did not affect his grades. And he finished. He got a job. It was only until he had a job and he was fired because he could no longer perform well and he had problems, that his parents knew he was an alcoholic. And then when he told them he started drinking from when he entered year 7, they were shocked. Where did you get the drink from? From the father's cupboard. That's where I got it from. And he became an alcoholic. Please, let's check our lifestyle. Let's check our lifestyle. Are you packing all the shifts? Mom is going, dad is coming. Everybody is going. The children are in school. Mom is working, dad is working. You put them in the school club. You pick them up. There is no one there for the children. And then we wonder, the changes start happening. You don't see it until it's too late. Until you start getting a whiff of the cannabis from the room before you realize. It doesn't start with cannabis. It can start with vape. It can start with cigarettes. Did you notice it? Did you notice it? We have to be present because the present will not cover for our presence. The present that you buy, they will not cover for our present. My husband and myself, we have to make changes. Did we lose money? Yes, we did. But at the end of the day, I would do it over and over again. We have to adapt to change things. We have to adapt so that there is always someone present for the child. There's a parable in my language that said, when the fish is dried, you can no longer shape it. If you shape it, you break it. So when do you shape them? When they are malleable. Follow the stairs, the vision, the stories, the values. You follow it one after the other. It never fails. Communication. This was already dealt with in the morning. Open communication. Please, let's not say you want to just communicate, but you are only listening to respond. We have to listen. We have to listen to understand because we are not always right. If you do not understand and connect to your child, you cannot correct. A child you cannot connect with, you cannot correct. You cannot correct. So we have to be very, 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 very careful when we are modeling this. We have to model our values. We have to be patient with our children. We have to be extremely patient with our children. Emotional intelligence is very important. I notice that families, sometimes we just stop at our children. We just feel we are always right. We are not always right. We have to apologize, model these things. If I'm wrong, I apologize to my children. I don't think I remember my parents apologizing to me like that. I apologize. Modeling, it goes back to that modeling. What you want to see, you must model it to your children. It's so important. And the last stage is repeats. Yes, you repeat this over and over again. As a teacher, that's what people do in school. Teachers repeat over and over. The more you repeat, the more you engrave it into the children. Is it frustrating? Yes. But you have to learn to control your emotions and repeat and repeat and repeat over and over again. It's so important. And this is my last slide. I'm going to just make this bigger. This is the time. If you have a pen and a pad, please get it out. If you want to screenshot, please do. You need to identify who you are as a family. You are in diaspora. There are so many cultures. You can't keep blaming the culture. There are people that are raising geniuses in the land. There are people that are raising prime ministers in the land. Why can't we do it? You can do it. I can do it. And how do we do that? Know your identity. Who are you as a family? The children must know that. They must know. I go to school and I know what certain religion, when they tell me, we can't do this because this is what we are doing at this time. And we cannot change it. Identify it, qualify. What are you working towards? What exactly is the outcome of this identity? You want your child to be a sport person. Which sport are they doing currently? What is the progression? How are they progressing from one stage to another? You want them to be a scholar? How are you doing it? But you have to balance everything. Their mental health is also very important. Raise holistic, well, well child is so important. Then you have to define the unique twist that your family bring to this outcome. Like, for example, my children, they must do activities, they must engage. My husband and myself, we've agreed on that. They must have an activity that they're doing. It helps to balance them out. It's not always reading, reading, reading. They do other things, gymnastics, swimming, they do badminton, they do other things. So you have to balance it out. Why do I do this? So that they will know that in life, you have to do other things in your life and incorporate into to make your life awesome and rich in order for you to have a different network of people around you. Now, who are the primary targets of the kind of identity we are shaping for our children? I love a kind word. So we are raising kind children. So in order for us to be able to raise kind children, we have to also ensure that we invest that kindness in our children. They are kind. And obviously, when they are kind to other people, we are also open that people, they will attract kind people around them. Alas, if people are not kind, they will have enough emotional intelligence to be able to manage without breaking down because of what other people have done to them. And then that was the secondary part. As a result of this, what would they be able to do? We raise a resilient children. We raise a resilient family that will not be talked down, that will not be people pleasers, that will not be yes, yes, yes to everybody. I think my time is running pretty fast, so I'm just going to quickly wrap it up. Further ways to manage your mental health: exercise. As a parent, how often do you exercise? Your children, they go to one club or the other, but do you yourself, do you exercise? You have to also exercise and relax. We are the first role model that our children see. So it is so important that you model what the kind of life that you want your children to adopt. Good diets. What kind of food are you feeding your children? Is it always junk, or do you mix it? Or do you just go on the street? What are you doing? Do you spend time in the outdoor, or they go to school and then they go to church on Sunday and then they are back home just in that circle? Do you spend time in the outdoor? Do you go out for a walk? Have a good sleep pattern as well. I know this can be a challenge sometimes in diaspora because of our working pattern, but we have to find a way to balance that as well. Gratitude. You cannot raise entitled children and you don't get a backlash for it. Are you grateful for the little and the plenty that you have? We have to model this for our children. Do they have a routine? A routine where they have their own chores, their own contribution in my house. No matter how young you are, you must have a duty to do. Even if it's that to take all the shoes from the hallway back in the shoe room, that is a duty. It brings a sense of responsibility and helps to eradicate a sense of entitlement. Socializing. Do you encourage healthy socializing? You have to model it to your children. I've said extensively about drugs and alcohol. It doesn't matter if you're a social drinker, don't do it. You don't want your children to drink, you don't drink. You don't want them to smoke, don't smoke. Model help for your children. It's okay to ask for help from the right people. Some people have called me sometimes. Sonia, they've asked my children to go for counseling in school. Is it okay? I do counseling in school for children. And I tell them, yes, it's fine. It's okay. What are you scared of? Are you scared they're going to change their values? Are you scared? What are you scared of? Don't be scared. If you ingrain the right values in them, nobody is going to change it. That's not what counseling is all about. I counsel children based on issues that they find challenging in school. I do not go about changing their values. So that's not what it's all about. Let our children be used to asking for help and receiving help from people. And then these are other ways. I've already talked about it, gratitude and all of that stuff. Develop a purpose and a meaning, and what is their trajectory of life? Where is it going? They seeing their progress. It's not perfection. You don't say I love you when they score high, and when they don't do so well, you are chastising them. We have to be there, love them unconditionally. It's so important that we love our children unconditionally. I know parents like to brag. Oh, my children scored this, my children don't score that. What about a child that is very emotionally intelligent? How often do you praise that child and acknowledge that strength in them? What about a child that help you without you even asking? How often do you acknowledge that strength in them? It's not just for their academic prowess. What about their innate, their character strength, like we call it in positive psychology? How often do you showcase their character strength and help them to enhance it? How often do you do that as a parent? We have to be very, very intentional about how we are raising our children in order to ensure that their mental health is good. Finally, remember, anything that costs you your mental health, diaspora or not, is not worth it. It has become too expensive. Remember, you have to connect with your family in order to be able to correct and impart them. On that note, I think I'm done with my presentation. Thank you very, very much for staying put to listen. And I am done. Ronnie, should I bring you back up? Is Ronnie still there?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Oh, yes. I
Mhm.
was writing away. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Coach Sonia. My note is full. You are just, you came for us this evening. Thank you so much. Guys, oh, yes. Guys, if you let me hear in your comment that you were paying attention, because I was. Oh, my God. We are not always right. That one. I think I'm going to make a poster out of it and put it by my room because I need my daughter to see it, because she say that to me sometimes. She say, "You are not always right, you need to hear what I'm saying." And when I heard you say it, I'm like, oh my God. So I wrote that down. That is so good, Coach Sonia. Thank you so much. I would just like to start by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for, this is what people pay big money for, and you're just giving and giving. We love it. We love it. Thank you. God bless you, ma. God bless you. You said a child that you can't connect with, you can't correct. I got that one. I got it straight away. So I would like to ask you some questions. And guys, if you have questions, I can see your comments. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. If you have questions for Coach Sonia, please do put those questions out and we will get to it. I have some questions here that I want to ask you very quickly. So, because we're talking about mental health here, how can parents recognize signs of stress or anxiety in their children that is related to cultural adaptation? Because different things can cause, anxiety for children. But how can we recognize the one that is actually as a result of cultural adaptation?
Is by speaking to them. We cannot make assumptions
Wow.
because when we make assumptions, we might just be missing the mark. Communication is so important. So we have to keep communicating to them and asking them what is going through because our children, they change a lot. So what made your child anxious when they were young might not be what will make them anxious as a teenager. So for example, if they how will I say now maybe a particular food made them anxious as a child, growing up it might just be wearing their attires, the native, the traditional wear that might make them nervous this time. So you have to find out at what is it, what exactly is going on. I just want to listen to understand you. I am not listening to respond, I am listening to understand. So what exactly is going on? Because if you speak to them, they will ask you. So for example, in Yoruba culture, when you want to get married, you have to prostrate and lie down. And then we went for my friend's wedding, and then they were prostrating and lying down. And my children were asking me, "What's that all about? Why are they all flat on their face? What is going on? What is going on?" I had to explain to them, and they were like, "So when I'm getting married, am I also going to? Is my husband going to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, they will have to do that. They don't have any option. They will have to do that, right?" So I explained it to them. But imagine if I just tell them that, hey, it's our culture. Hey, I don't care. They will just need that. "Oh, but I have to explain it to them and look for further videos. I explain the different cultural side because in my side, you don't have to lie flat, right? You put the bride on the lap of the father-in-law. So it's different. So I have to show it to them and make it sound so interesting. And I'll just those stories around it and all of that stuff is a sign of respect that this man is coming to marry a prince and all those stuff. So you have to ask exactly what exactly is making you anxious. You don't like wearing native. What is it about? You don't like bringing your afro hair out. What is going on? Like my daughter told me that, oh, they were touching her afro hair and all of those stuff. That was why she didn't want to carry her to school until a friend came to meet me and said, hi, she called my daughter's name. Please, can you make my hair like your daughter's hair?
Oh,
I started laughing because you didn't like your afro hair, right? Initially, and now your friend wants her hair to be like yours. So she then understood that wow, this is really good. So she from then she understood that okay, it's okay to be unique. If I don't like it, there are other people that also like it. So ask questions from your child. What exactly is making them anxious about the cultural aspect?
oh wow. Thank you very much. That is a great answer. That the similar stories, I think my daughters they go through that phase as well when they want something different. And one of the things that I realize also that helps is like what you said, tell them stories. It's not about shutting them down and saying, why don't you like your hair? Is your hair accepted?
Mm,
It's not about that. It's actually explaining, to them what makes their hair unique. And I think it was mentioned in the first in the morning session as well.
mm.
So that is it's really really good is to understand them. The other question that I have is what strategies can family use to support each other's mental well-being? During period of change, whether be it cultural or not cultural. What are some of the things that you can tell us that can help them cope with it? Because especially now, many people are going through so much, and some people don't know how to explain or even put into words. I've seen women who are overwhelmed and they don't know they're overwhelmed, So I just want you to give us some points or pointers on how we can actually cope with this situation.
So is it coping with stress or family stress? Is that
No,
what the question?
strategies that families can use to support each other. How
Ah,
can we support each other mentally in our mental well-being? How can we support each other? So because one thing I know is that this thing is like what is the word now, it goes round. If you're overwhelmed in a way, you're passing it around to your children without
yes.
knowing, because it comes out in your behavior, in your attitude, in your response to them. So but how do we cope if even if it's my child that is overwhelmed? How do I help her? How do I support her at the same time supporting the others who are not overwhelmed?
Yeah. I would say self-awareness. Self-awareness is very, very key. Okay. So for example, I'm giving permission to your children. When I am so self-aware now from experience, I learned from experience of being of being beaten many times. So when I'm getting tired, I have bloodshot on my eyes. My eyes go really red and I get really, really cranky. And I gave my children permission. If you see me snapping at you and you know you've not done anything wrong, you have my permission to pull me up and remind me, Mommy, what's going on? You're shouting. Give them permission. No, seriously, our children are amazing. Give them permission. So my children will tell me, like, I'm already going on a tangent. And then the next thing is like, I'll just hear someone say, Mommy, you're shouting. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll just say, then I know I can't, I'm not even gonna lie, it works. Give your children permission. You are not the only one that will pull them up. Let them also pull you up.
Mhm.
And when immediately they tell me, Mommy, or someone will just say, Mommy, your eyes is red. And then I go, okay. And then what I do, I calm down immediately. And I tell them, I'm really sorry. I've had a busy day today. And I'm a bit short with myself right now because I've had a busy day. I've had a stressful day. And then I find myself sharing the story to them. Right. And by the time we finish with the story, I see that everybody become really mindful of the things that they are doing. And sometimes they will just go
Mm.
their extra with Mommy, do you want a drink? or do you want this, or do you want that? And they help me. Now it goes the other way. You pick up a child from school, and a child that will normally say, "Hi, mommy," and all of this stuff, and then they just go quiet, or they come back from school. What I normally do, I check in. Is everything okay? I was lunch, I was period one, I was period two, and all of that stuff. And I see they are still cranky. So what I do, I just tell them, I can see or I perceive you are not in a very good mood. I am just going to give you time to sort yourself out. When you are ready to talk, just remember that I'm here to listen to you. And I leave them. That's what I do. I leave them. So depending on who that child is, who is that child, you know your child. If you know your child, then you know how to relate this with them and how to gauge it. Some children, they might just come out and tell you that, oh, I had a very rough day in school today, and you tell them. The another thing is intentionally build routines in your family system. So for example, you might have a movie night whereby you have a day, maybe it's a Friday or a Saturday, where everybody just have a movie night, right? And as everybody is sat down, you see that tension. If everywhere was tensed up before, like in my house, they get really excited about movie night. I will cancel my sessions for a movie night. So there is no, that thing is just secured, it's for them. So when you do this, you give everybody time to, there is something to look forward to at the beginning of the week or at the end of the week, whichever. The another one again is the games. If you have board games, the Ludo, the Snakes and Ladder, the Connect Four, and all of that stuff. Why am I saying these things? You see that when you do activities together as a family, you begin to pick up things, and then you see the other person will just by themselves loosen up that I'm sorry I shouted at you before. Maybe it's because my friend was not nice to me. So I think I transfer that aggression to you. So different things, there are loads of things that you can do. It might be giving them space, it might be giving them permission to pull you up, it might be you just acknowledging their mood, but giving them the time to come back to you and tell you when they want to talk about it, not when you want to hear about it. So
Mm.
self-awareness, knowing one another in the family and knowing the best strategy, because children are so different. Strategy one might work for strategy two. Like my husband, when he's not very happy, he just go really quiet. My own is different. We all know each other. We just find a way. But sometimes it doesn't mean it makes it easy. But having this awareness make it more manageable.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Connect with them, self-awareness, play game, watch movies together. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Yes, it is intentionally building routines that actually just allow for conversations to happen. Not necessarily that we're going to talk, but it will happen because everybody is relaxed. They're doing what they like. They're not worried about anything at that point. And maybe use that time to be the time to give them a lot of chocolate and popcorns, things that you wouldn't give them. Yeah, because I think that's the excuse for movie night in my house is that we use it to eat all the junks that I normally would not allow us. But it works. It works
Yeah.
all the time. It works. You see people talking about, and again, conversation about the movie, the things that is acted out, or, when you're watching a movie and somebody snap at their mother or something, you even see them bringing conversation about it. When somebody snap at their mother, my daughter will say, that can never be me. I would be dead by now. So that always makes me feel like, oh, is that how you actually see me? But it's a great conversation starter. I
Yeah.
100% agree. Thank you so much for sharing. So, are there any, my last question for you would be that, are there any misconception about mental health within the diaspora community that, that we need to address? And how can we tackle them? Are there things that, people just put down to other things, like a misconception that you have heard?
There are so many, not only heard. I've seen,
I've
I've seen,
seen. Okay.
I've seen it. So for example, I don't think I've seen in all the sessions that I normally have, I'm talking about counseling now. I don't think I've seen a Black person complete their session when it's in the community. When they have opportunity to explore counseling. So they might give them 10 sessions because it's a charity. They get 10 sessions, for example. You see the person will come 2 sessions, 3 sessions, tops 5 sessions, and before you know it, they don't come again. The first misconception is that people think that counseling is about a counselor telling you what to do. Counseling is not about a counselor telling you what to do. It's about addressing that situation that you're going through, processing the emotions that come with it, so that you begin to gain clarity and then you will know how to forge ahead. So it is not about telling you what to do. So when you come in, this is not you going to meet someone say this didn't happen. It's not friendship. It is you working together. Okay, you notice that you get anxious when this happened. Okay, what is the trigger? What happened? How does this emotion feels like? Where do you feel it? We're trying to extract it so that you become aware of the things that are causing you that bother. But people, when you don't tell them what to do, you find out that they want to come back to the session because they are trying to rope you into different things. And you are being mindful in order to be ethical in your approach, right? Another one is that people don't like to be seen or allow other people to know that they are going through counseling. It's very, very weird because if you have headache, you have stomach upset, or you have diarrhea, you go and see a doctor. And even if you see someone at the reception, you even say hi to them. You go and see a dentist, and you're like, "Oh, I just came to sort my teeth out," and you're fine. You go and see an optician. "Oh, I want to sort my glasses out because my glasses is getting weak." You are okay. But when it comes to you seeing a counselor, and then you are thinking anything that has to do with your mental health, maybe a psychiatrist and stuff, then you're feeling that you're going mad because the stigma is a lot of people think that if I see a counselor, it means I'm going mad or what they call cuckoo or crazy. But the truth is, you are not going mad. We need to start treating our mental health the way we give attention to our physical health. It is so important because no matter how sound you are physically, how healthy you are in terms of your fitness, but when it comes to your mental health, if you do not look after it, you are still not going to be able to function 100%. So it's so important. Who wants to laugh at you? That person is ignorant. Even if you go to a counselor and then you see someone close by, seeing that you're walking into the place, that's their problem. There's none of it. Another misconception is men. Men is just a different ball game. Men do not want to talk to people about their mental
Wow.
health. I am not boxing men,
Wow.
just saying that majority of men do not even want to talk. And when they want to talk, sometimes they want to talk to a man. But in counseling, majority of us are women. You see, there are not a lot of men that are doing counseling. So when you want to talk about your mental health, a lot of people just see that stigma and sometimes it might be trust issues because people have been burnt before. I told you about my challenges, and before you know it, is a gossip within our circle of friends. I trusted you with my valuable information, and then you are going about telling other people. You see, this is the difference between counseling. A counselor will never, ever take your case and use it as a source of gossip. It's not possible because that's not ethical. So this is why when you have things that are bothering you and you don't want to tell people that you don't trust, then maybe you need to see a counselor or see someone that you know will be able to keep their mouth shut. So I will just wrap it up here. The things that make people not to talk because people have big mouths, because they don't want to be perceived as being crazy, because people want to be told what to do, and counseling is not about that, and because of so many other misconceptions that if you say you have mental health challenges when it comes to settling down, getting married, people check families before they settle down. They're like, that family that woman has mental health issues or the man has mental health issues. Maybe it's hereditary. We don't want to do it. But it's not necessarily the case because sometimes life challenges just push us to the extreme. It doesn't really mean we are insane. Going to talk to someone about your emotions, about your feeling, does not mean you are going mad. You are saying normal. If you break your leg, you still walk, right? You will not say you're not going to use that leg again. So it's just the same thing. We all need help at one point or the other. Nobody is an island.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great insight. And I agree with you. The kind of taboos that we have around talking about our mental health is not even necessary. is absolutely not necessary, because people need help. People need a place where they can talk and not feel like they need to be mindful of what they say. And that's what counselors are trained for. Many people won't even go to see a counselor, but they will tell everything to their friend, right?
Mm,
They will tell their friend that can't really help them. They will tell their friend, or their neighbor, or their dogs, or whoever
mm,
cares to listen. And it's great to talk as a starting point, but most of those people don't have the abilities to help you. They can't really help you. They can just listen. And if you, in some bad example now, they will probably gossip with that conversation. But you go to a counselor, they can't gossip with your conversation. Even if, in fact, if correct me on this if I'm wrong, Coach Sonia, if someone is a counselor who knows you, who have like a relationship with you, there is an ethic thing there where they can't even counsel you. So it has to be somebody who don't have any relationship with you. So they're not going to tell your story to somebody else. And if we do need help, please, let's access this help. Building a family, if we're not okay, building a family will not even be possible. You might think because you are together now, or your children are still with you because they are young, then you are building a family. Most people see the crack when the children have left home. You might be able to manage it while the children are still under your control, when they don't have a choice. But once they leave home, that's when you see so many family cracks.
mm.
And people then now sit down in older age and say, those children are ungrateful. Those children, I did everything for them. No, you didn't do everything. If you're doing everything for them, it's making sure that you yourself are well, prioritizing your own mental health, prioritizing your self-care, practicing self-care, and making sure that you take care of yourself, so that the way you are taking care of them, you can see when the cracks are showing. You can see, because if you're overwhelmed, when your child is under stress, sometimes you can't see it.
True,
You can't
true,
see it. You won't be
true.
able to see, because you're overwhelmed. All you see is in front of you. So prioritizing yourself so that you can look after all that God has given you is a wise move. So whether that's seeing a counselor, resting, eating when you need to, sleep when you need to, do less shift, put the steps that Coach Sonia has given us, putting them in place. She had that system. She said, one step at a time. Tell your story. That really resonated with me. As Africans, there is something about our story. We tell
Mm,
everybody's story but ours. We tell everybody. You can tell all the childhood story that you've heard, but your story, you don't tell it to the people that matters the most, which is your children, which is your family. Absolutely. And this was counseling is switching on the light bulb in your confusion, in your confused state. It is wise to seek clarity. Absolutely. If you're weak and somebody come and gives you a helping hand, that is all counseling is. If you're falling down, somebody head you up, you will be grateful to say, oh, thank God that person was behind me. I didn't fall
mhm.
completely. And I think that is the way we should see counseling, or speaking to a mental health professional like Sonia. So I will just use this time to remind us. I cannot see if there's any question in the chat. Do we have any question for Coach Sonia before I move on to my reminder? Question. Is there any question that you would like Custodia to address for you? I think I have a question. I have another question. I didn't want to continue. I was mindful of the time, but if there's no question, I can ask you one more question, please.
I can't see any on the chat right now. So yeah,
Okay.
the second speaker
Okay.
is yes. You can
Oh, okay.
just
I apologize to eat into your time. Can I just ask you a question? So, if you have a child that is not opening up and you can clearly see that something is wrong, what would you advise that parent to do? You've tried all of most of these things, like give them time, give them space to come to you. You've made available the space. You've left it so that it doesn't look like you're being too much. What do you do when you can't reach them?
Well, you can't reach a child. There are so many reasons you cannot reach a child. Is a lot of African parents are very reactive, very, very reactive. We can be very judgmental. And if a child does not feel safe in sharing things with you because you are very reactive, they will not say anything because they do not want you to overreact. So you have to work on yourself because the child is not the problem, it's you. So you have to work on yourself and gradually spend time with that child, get to know the child. I know they are your child, but would you reveal information to someone that will judge you? You see, you have to win their trust. So it's not about finding out what it is that they are going through. It's about getting to know them and then allowing them to trust you, as in so that they can trust you enough to be able to tell you things. So it's about working on the relationship because if they are not telling you things, that relationship, there's a crack. So you should be focusing on closing those cracks by winning their trust and not the one that after they've told you, after you've won their trust, they've told you, you now flip. You see? So it's deeper than that. Sometimes we just focus on the fruits, but we don't care about the plants. So it's not about what is their challenge, it's about why is it that they do not trust you enough to tell you things. Someone once told me, he said, when a child often lies, it means either the parents are overreactive or the parents are very judgmental. So this is why they do such things. So we need to work on ourselves. The children are not always a problem. We need to work on ourselves to be able to gain their trust, for them to be able to see us safe enough to confide in us. So it's so important you work on that relationship, forget about what they're hiding, work on building a relationship. If they trust you enough, they will confide in you. I'll use my
Absolutely.
mind because my boss is here.
Thank you thank you very much. Thank you, Coach Sonia. God bless
Thank
you.
you so much,
Thank you
Ren.
for all you do. All right. I would hand over now to the other uncle. Thank you very much. It's been a lovely evening. Thank you for
Thank you
having me.
so much, Ronnie. Angel, I'm going to add you on stage. The floor is yours. Angel, all right.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for the session. It was very insightful. I learned a lot. Permit me to welcome, please join me in welcoming Praise for Wowe. Sorry about that. A true pioneer in family life solution and a visionary dedicated to creating a sustainable society. As the founder of Praise for Wewe Research LLC in Ivory, Texas, Praise is at the forefront of family life innovation, impacting communities across 5 continents. With over 2 decades of expertise, he is a trusted family life strategist known for his transformative and unconventional approach to family dynamics. Through groundbreaking programs like Family System Engineering, Out of the Box Parenting, and the Ready for Life Child Development Program, Praise equip families, governments, and organizations with the tool to thrive. He is a respected member of both the Family Life Coaching Association USA and the International Association of Marriage and Family Counselors. Let's give a warm welcome to Praise for Wewe as he brings his wealth of insights to our stage. Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good
Hope we learned
evening. Good evening. How are you?
something from here. We are good. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you. So can I go ahead? Okay, good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. I want to say thank you very much for having me. Coach Sonia, thank you for all that you do. I want to appreciate you. I do not take for granted that on your platform. And congratulations on this amazing conference and the conversations we're having. Now, I am going to make this very swift so that I don't waste our time. Then I'll take questions. I understand the time frame I have. And there is so much to cover within the time frame that we have. Now, embracing dual heritage, nurturing a strong cultural identity in diaspora children. And this is a very important topic that I think we should be talking about, especially for those of us who parent in the diaspora, because it is very, very important for us to understand that we're raising children in the diaspora who have like dual citizenship, in the sense that they're first of all Africans, but then they're in diaspora. And so there's always that imbalance in their psyche, because on one end, they think of themselves as maybe being citizens of the UK, or they're Americans, or they are Canadians, or whatever part of the world you live in. On the other end, they can literally see through systemic racism that the land is not totally accepting them. For example, we just had election in America, and we all saw what looked like racial profiling and the rest of them. And so our children started asking, are we sure we are Americans, right? And we always say to them that you are Africans who are in training in America, because there is, you can have the passport, but you're never going to be white in your skin. And so it becomes very important for us to have this conversation on how we can nurture a strong cultural identity in diaspora children. Now, I have been with a couple of professors who are of Indian heritage or Chinese heritage. Some of them lecture in Harvard. One of the things I have consistently noticed with them is the accent, the Indian and the Chinese accent, which defines them. However, for many of us, we realize that our children are too quick to lose their African accent. As a matter of fact, some people would say that, you have accent. Of course, my accent defines who I am. Now, I'm not saying people should not speak Queen's English or what have you, but then we have to understand that without a cultural heritage, without a sense of history, our children will be totally lost. And so the original African kingdom, the pre-colonial African, existed as kingdoms, and each kingdom had a clear culture and mode of raising children on the trans-Saharan trade. So I'm taking you through the part of history. Now, in the African kingdom, in the original Africa, they were kingdoms. So you had the Benin kingdom, you had the Oyo Empire, you had the Ashanti, you have all these various kingdoms. So which means originally a typical African has a royal heritage. Now, along the line, slave trade began to happen. And what happened during slave trade, I'm going to talk about that shortly. But then in pre-colonial Africa, Africans have their values. And the values that have been documented across history are about maybe 10 or 11 or something. Number one, we have the value of collectivism and community. And that's why you realize that till date, we love to gather to celebrate and have parties, or what Yoruba people call Owambe. Now, number two is respect for elders. We've always had the value where we respect elders. It's rare to see a typical African look at his parents and say, don't be stupid, dad. Of course, you see that with other races. Number three, oral tradition. And I think this is a strength and also a weakness, because originally we had oral tradition, but because it was not documented, an integral part of our history has been lost. Number four, spirituality and ancestral worship. So when you see Africans attend prayer meeting, when you see Africans pray every day, with 2 million people praying every day, and the whole world is watching and they're wondering what's happening, it's because spirituality has always been a part of our culture. Number five, harmony with nature. As original Africans, we had harmony with nature. Number six is hospitality, to our detriment, because we are the only people who will accept strangers and give them preeminence at the expense of our people. You had justice and conflict resolution. So we had the elders in the village who could resolve conflict. Hardly will you see us take ourselves to court in the ancient African continent until now that, with the Western, influence, we now learn to use the court system. Number 8 is work ethics. hard work and discipline. So if anyone ever told you that Africans are lazy, we're not originally lazy, because every African family, you either had a farm or you were either fisherman, but you had a band. You couldn't even marry a woman if you didn't have a band that has XYZ number of yams, right? And so our work ethics was actually high, because without insane work ethics that we had, we couldn't have built the pyramids in Egypt. We couldn't have built the Great Wall of Benin's kingdom. We couldn't have done the bronze work, the crafts that they stole during slave trade. Number 9, gender roles and respect. While gender roles varied among African society, respect for both men and women was very important. So gender equality, even though it was a patriarchal society, but there was absolute respect for women in some parts of Africa. And then there was the rite of passage to say that we prepared children. So the Calabar, they had what they call the fattening room, wherein when they prepare people intentionally for marriage, they now bring them out, which was similar to the bat mitzvah of the Jews. Now, Exodus happened, or what you call colonization. And what did colonization do to us? One, there was a name change. People's name moved from Sonia Abbes, and it became Sonia Stones. People's name moved from Praise for Wowe, and maybe my local name, Oladimeji Fowe, and it became Sharon Wood or something like that. Colonization brought name change. It brought culture change. So what defines our people? Because they took some princes and they turned them to slaves in the plantation. And so many of them gave birth to children. They separated father from mother, and then cultural change. They lost their culture. There was a religious change. So they dumped the African culture, traditional religion, and then we picked Christianity and Islam. Polluted and forgotten history. As generations came, new generations evolved, we lost our history, and then we completely forgot what was going on. Then there was dehumanization and lack of choices. And so the consequences of the first movement of Africans to the diaspora came with its devastating effect that the future generations are still grappling with. I mean, I live in America, and if you sit with a typical Black American, you can see the trauma across history when people say, where is home? And they don't know where is home. They call it sitting in the US. Meanwhile, home is somewhere in Africa. Now, there is the new wave of, migration. The second coming of Africans to diaspora is as economic migrants in search of better life. And it can also come with same consequences if we're not intentional as a people, like others who have successfully migrated as a community, which included the Indians, the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Jews. Now, as parents who are raising kids in the diaspora, there are 4 battle lines you must never forget. I've repeated this over and over again, and I'll keep repeating it till we get it. One is the battle line of identity. Every Jewish child could define who they are. Every Japanese child could define who they are. Chinese children know who they are. Indian children know their heritage. African children don't know their identity. Now, every misbehavior can be traced to a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self, right? And so when identity is lost, identity is function of your history. It's because history is fractured. And so when we talk and we ask parents, how many of you can tell us the man that lived in the 4th generation before you were born? Many of you don't know the names of your great-great-great-grandfather. And so if you don't know the name of your great-great-grandfather, what is the possibility or the likelihood that anybody's going to remember you when in the 4th generation? And so history is lost. And when your children don't have an identity and they don't have history, they'll be susceptible to all kinds of things. If they give them a wrap of marijuana, because there's an imbalance in their identity, they're going to take it. If somebody says to them, maybe you are having, you don't like how you feel, maybe you should switch your gender, your children are going to accept it because they don't know who they are. Number 3 is the battle line of village, that our people don't collaborate for impact. The Indians collaborate. When you say to the Indian community, let us contribute money, the last thing on their mind is someone is going to swindle them. When we say to our people, let us contribute money to build, apartment centers, someone is thinking, what if they steal my money? And it's not their fault, because our system is such that it's porous and people can swindle you and there's no consequence. And so the village system, if we don't come together as a village, like we say, it takes a village to raise a child, we will be at the mercy of the Western system, and our children will be literally colonized. And number 4 is the sense of mission. To say you are now in the diaspora, do you know the purpose of being in the diaspora? Are you in the diaspora because someone told you you can japa, then you japa, and you are there, and you are showing people back home that you have now escaped from Mr. T-Pain, or you are here because you have a clear sense of purpose? These are the 4 battle lines that we need to navigate. Now, however, there is one big battle, and the greatest battle you will ever face in the diaspora is the battle to outlove your child, because the soul of your child is at stake in the diaspora. In every nation I've successfully studied, from the US to the UK to Canada to any nation of your choice, the battle is the battle to outlove your child. And it's not that they outlove your child, it's to make your child have a notion that the system loves him more than you. And that's why you notice that after a while, our children start to call police for us. Now, I tell parents that the Asians are actually more mean, if you want to think of corporal punishment, than the Africans. But you hardly see the children call the police for them. Now, it's because they understand history, they understand heritage, and they know even if you classify your parents as wicked, they still love you more than the system. And so you must not give your child a chance to think that the system loves him more than you. And so African children, however, are African saviors in training, sent to master how to transform their world in service to God and humanity. You must know that, because when the conflicts arise and our children don't know whether they're Americans or they're British or they're Nigerians or they're Africans, you need to let them know that they are African saviors in training, sent to master how to transform the world in service to God and humanity. However, for them to accept that reality, we have to take responsibilities for them. And so what that means is they have the passport or the citizenship of the country of their resident right now is a privilege. It's a privilege to learn how things work. And so when they learn how things work, then they can either lead the system or maybe transform Africa. That has to be the narrative. They are African saviors in training. So that was what the Jews did. The Jews, when they incorporated the nation Israel, they sent the Jews to the US, they sent them to China, they sent them to everywhere they gain knowledge. They will come as students, but then they are more or less in an espionage mission, wherein everything they can find, they take it back to Israel. The Chinese people have done the same. And so we can do the same by helping our children understand that the hope of Africa is actually our children. That the hope of redefining who an African is, every time they think of an African, they think of an incompetent person, they think of, a fraudulent person, that our children are the ones who can rewrite this history. So they are African saviors in training, sent to master how to transform their world in service to God and humanity. But we need to play our part as parents. And so when you think of all I've said so far, India was in the states many of us are, until Buddha and later Mahatma Gandhi arose, and then they redefined the future of that nation. So whatever you see about Indians today, these two men played an integral role in making it happen. Whatever you see of the nation Israel today, you know about Abraham, Benjamin, David Ben-Gurion, and Shimon Peres were two of the most important names in the history of the Jews that redefined the reality of the Jews and their future in the diaspora. When you think of the United Arab Emirates, the Al Maktoum were the ones who conceived the vision that revolutionized a desert to become, a first world wonder. And so what I'm saying, therefore, is that to turn our children into saviors who are saviors in training, who will transform their world in service to God and humanity, you need to know that as a parent, you must move from parenting to becoming an ancestor. An ancestor is an enduring presence. It's a guiding light, a source of inspiration that transcends time. An ancestor is the thread that weaves the thread of family history and culture, connecting generation past, present, and future. That there is no way you can unleash your children, give them their identity without your history. And that's why consistently I tell people, go back to your history and understand your heritage. There is nothing bad about your history, that what is right about you cannot resolve. And so we need to understand that when your child knows the heritage he has, to know that he's a royalty, he will not get in the direction of rebellion because he knows royalties don't behave this way. He needs to own it, he needs to accept it, and he must be able to promote it. And so it means in ancestry, you are moving from awareness to framework. What it means is you must create illumination and vision. You must move, however, from framework to systems intelligence, because to subliminally influence a child, you need to understand systems intelligence. That is why you will never see anybody put a gun to your child's skull and say, begin to sag, or begin to wear stud, or begin to weave your hair. But your child at some point will desire to do that. Why? Systems around him shows him that this is possible. Now, you need to move from systems intelligence to transgenerational culture. I say to every African in the diaspora right now, we are the first generation of the new ancestors of Africa. And so our children, so we are the ones that will suffer many of the things they need to suffer, but then our children must learn by observing us. And so the father of Dubai said, my grandfather rode a camel. My father rode a camel. I ride a Mercedes. My son rides a Land Rover. My grandson is going to ride a Land Rover. But my great-grandson is going to have to ride a camel again if care is not taken. And so what is it saying? That if we don't, as parents, as a matter of urgency, learn from what other people have done, observe what the Indians have done, observe what the Chinese have done, observe how they ensure that their parents, their children understand their history, their children own the history, and the children promote the history, we would have lost an entire generation, because many of us on this call who are parents, the first language you learned wasn't English. The first language you most learned was your dialect. Then you learned English later. Your children are learning English. They don't understand their dialect. When their children come, your language is totally gone. Once your language is gone, your history is gone, you have been truly captured. That is second wave of slavery. And so what are the things we need to do to helping our children own their heritage, promote their heritage? Number one, you need to look back and understand your history to embrace legacy thinking. Everyone here must look back. And what does that mean? You need to consider what values, traditions, and stories and life lessons you want to pass down. There were things your parents taught you. I mean, I went to see my mom on Thursday. I'm in Nigeria at the moment. And I met her, 82-year-old woman, pounding yam with mortar and pesto. Immediately I got in, I collected the pesto from her, and I started pounding. And she was looking at me, said, do you still pound? I said, Mom, maybe I don't pound, but I still know how to pound. So I made the thing and I finished it. And then when I finished eating, she served me the stew or the soup. And when it was time, when I finished, I wanted to go wash my plate. And my mom was trying to fight me. You don't have to wash me. And I told her, Mom, have you forgotten how you raised me? Have you forgotten that as a child, you kept telling me, I don't want you to marry a cook. I want you to marry a human being so that you can respect your wife. So I'm going to teach you how to make every pastry, every food. Now, we need to learn to look back as a people and understand history. See, if you live in the diaspora without a sense of history, there will be nothing to pass down to your children. Your children will also be lost, like an entire generation that is lost in America today. Now, it's not just about material wealth, but more about cultural, moral, and spiritual heritage. Our children need to know that our spiritual heritage is strong. They need to understand that we have the African legends, the African moral values. I mean, when I was growing up, we had the African avatar. African avatar, when I was growing up, was tortoise and his wife were used as avatar to teach moral lessons. Our children need to understand that. And we need to go back. We know it's the era of AI. We now need to go back to doing the stories, telling them the stories without the telephones or without anything. And maybe some of us need to now make it into movies or make it into augmented reality so that they can watch. And that takes me to number two. Before number two, I love the book of Psalms. David was saying, we have had it with our ears, O Lord. Our ancestors have told us what you did in their days. Now, what are you telling your children that their ancestor did in the ancient past? If all our children think about Africa is the misbehavior of Mr. Buhari in Nigeria, or the misbehavior of Paul Biya in Cameroon, or the misbehavior of many of African leaders, they will not want to promote Africa. But if we scale it back to pre-colonial Africa to talk about the Benin heritage, right, of how they built a wall that has never been seen before, how Benin was the first nation that understood the concept of street lighting. If we talk to them about the pyramids, if we talk to them about the greatness of the Ashanti kingdom, if we talk about King Mansa Musa, who has been reputed to be the richest man who ever lived, our children, we can Google, they can find this history, and they can be connected back to the ancestry. And that takes me to number two thing we need to do. You need to prioritize family bonding. What that means is create family traditions and rituals that can be passed down through generation. This could be a simple Sunday family dinner, annual family reunion, or regular sharing of legends of the family. For example, we can celebrate African festival. We did one in October called Taste of Africa. Taste of Africa was a day where we cooked African delicacies and invited our foreign friends to come and taste it. And we told them the story and what those delicacies mean. When I was younger, if you were having cold, my grandma knew the type of pepper soup with scented leaf to make that will make you become old. In fact, there's a soup called the drop soup where I come from, right? And so these are things that we have totally lost that we need to bring back. And so you need to let your children know, for example, it could be a taboo in your family to smoke marijuana or to accept things that doesn't make sense, right? Because we're royalties and we need to stay alive to lead other people. And so we need to celebrate African festivals. And I'm not talking about Christmas and Easter. You need to create, we talk about New Yam Festival. If you are Igbo, for example, we talk about August meeting. We can do August meeting in the diaspora. We can do New Yam Festival in the diaspora. We can do Fertility Festival in the diaspora. The Indians do Diwali. It's now a national affair. In the US, when they do Diwali right now, I think Diwali happened after Halloween, you could literally see now they lit their house. You would think it was Christmas. But it was Diwali. It never used to be like that 10 years ago. But they moved it because that was the only way they could teach the world about their culture. And that's what we need to begin to do. Number three, you now need to look ahead to what is possible and take responsibilities through education and empowerment. To now say, yes, we understand the past. But what is our future in this diaspora? Our future cannot be to continue our children to continue to work in factories. And that's why if we don't collaborate, we will sabotage the next generation. If all we're creating is, oh, just my family, let us make African store. But you have sent your child to go study PhD. If it returns and it's time for inheritance, what will he inherit? African store. If other people, the Indians, are building the high-rises, Fortune 100 companies, what will their children inherit? Fortune 100 companies. It means our children will still not be the CEO. Their own children will still hire our children and will always work for them. Is that what we want? That's not what we want. So you want to invest in education, not just in other academic terms, but in terms of values, financial literacy, and life skills. I was telling someone that my son got to Canada, and then I think he was 13, and then he started, was it 13 or 11? 11 there, no, I think 12 thereabout. And he started distributing newspapers. The first time they paid him his salary, it was $20. So I said to him, Dave, let's go have ice cream. But this time around, you're going to pay since you have started earning. And my son said to me, Dad, not on your life. Do you know I literally died to earn this $20? Why would I want to spend it on ice cream? Right? And so he learned financial intelligence by working and how money works. right? So you need to teach your children about the importance of family and the story of the ancestors and the importance of continuing the legacy. For some of you, your children have never been to African countries. Take a trip across African countries. If you can't go, maybe because of finances, go on YouTube, do African nation study, right? There are so many information, so many documentaries on every African country. And so these are the things that we need to create the love of motherland in the hearts of our children. I know many of us don't have a good experience of living in Africa, but it doesn't mean that we still don't love our motherland, because home will always be home, regardless of where you live. You will always know that when you come back to your people, you feel very well at home. And so you will need to look ahead and say in the diaspora, we're going to raise a new generation who are not going to work in the factory the way we work in the factory. They're not going to work in the plantation the way we work in the plantation. We're going to collaboratively raise a new generation who are going to be captains from industries, that our children are going to be mayors. They're going to contest election. They're going to be mayors. They're going to be governors in some states, in some provinces. They're going to be parliamentarians. And maybe someday, if Indians can produce a prime minister, we can also aspire to produce one someday. Right. And that is what happens when we're able to look ahead. And number 4, we need to take responsibility and build systems that script generations unborn. What that means is everything we're doing, we now need to document. It cannot be just oral tradition. Consider creating a family tree or a family journal that documents every event, stories, lessons. Encourage each generation to add to it. Right. This not only preserves the family history, it also gives future generations a sense of belonging and understanding of their root. Journal your journey, how you came into the diaspora, how you started from factory. There is nothing to be ashamed about. It would help your children appreciate the sacrifices you made. The third generation will look at it and they say, our ancestor came to this land, from the factory, from the plantation, but look at who we are. Our ancestors sold houses in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Benin Republic to come here. But look at where we are right now. We are becoming mayors. It helps them have a history to tell. And so that is what we need to do, taking responsibility and building systems that can script the unborn generation. The final thing I would say to you is that our children are the greatest hope of African transformation, and they must own African and project the new order of Africa. That is the biggest battle we must win. That is who we must become. I've given you 4 things you need to do. But you see, we cannot do any of these things if we decide to go alone. Because if you go alone, you're going to go fast. If we go together, we'll go very far. We're going to have to literally create what doesn't exist. Because at home, we were not collaborating. Now that we're in diaspora, we must see ourselves as we are all we have. And everybody's child must become everybody's child. Gone are the days when I'm excited that somebody's child is doing marijuana and I'm giving praises to God. That thank God that my children are well behaved. They are not doing marijuana. The children doing marijuana are going to be a threat to your own child someday. We must come together and come back to the village system and begin to say, in the borough where you live or in the area where you live, whether in the UK or whatever, can we gather 10 families together? Can we begin to have village meetings? Can we begin to educate our children together, telling them the potency of our history? We cannot do the Igbo, the Hausa, the Yoruba, the Ashanti, the Ghana Jollof thing in diaspora. No, we are one African. And we must ensure that our children collaborate when they see us collaborate. Because the challenges we face are uniform. The devil we are facing is the same devil. Why will the solution be different? Why would we serve different gods? So we all must come together as a people and now begin to raise our children to know that we pay the price for you. You cannot afford to start from the scratch again. We will search for all the information for you. That we walk or we crawled and we walk so that you can run and fly. That must be our mantra. And that is what we must do to raise a new generation in the diaspora who know that Africans can collaborate, who are now in love with the African heritage, and whatever we do and document, they can pass to their own generation. Thank you very much. I hope I have done justice to the topic. If you have questions, I'll take your questions. Thank you. God bless you.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, sir. Angie, are you ready? Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you. Oh, she's here. She's here.
I'm here. Thank you so much, sir. And I just want to say before moving forward, before dealing with the questions, God bless your mother. Like you said, she said, I don't want you to marry a cook, but a wife that you will respect. I really, really appreciated that. This was a sugar rush for me. This information was just so much, and I'm yet to recover. So let me do a recap. You said African children are African savior in training, sent to masters how to transform their world in service to God and humanity. But we have to take responsibility. Then you said, as a parent, we are ancestors. We have to be aware of our framework. We have to know where we are coming from. Then we have to be aware of the framework and system. Then we have to know how to navigate system intelligence to transgenerational. Because if we don't know where we are coming from, we'll not be able to make any influence on our children. Then our assignment, we have to go back to our history. We must go back, because for you to know where you are going to, you must connect with your past. Then we must prioritize family bonding, as easy as family dinner, taste of Africa, little events that bring us together. Then we have to look ahead. Now you know where you're coming from, but project forward. Don't stay there. We have to move forward. Thank you very much, sir. Then you also talk about taking responsibility. You talk about documenting your journey. You don't have to be ashamed of where you're coming from. Let your kids know where you're coming from so that they will move forward. And we cannot do this alone. Don't say, oh, thank God my kids are not doing this. Oh, your own is doing it. It's something we have to do together. We need to work together to make this change. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. If you have any question, please drop it. Let me ask you some questions. I hope you are ready for my question, sir. What are the most common cross-cultural challenges you see in diaspora families, and how can they be addressed?
Okay, thank you very much. Some of the cross-cultural challenges, I'll tell you, let's start from the family. Now, a lot of people don't know that when they move to the diaspora, the women are malleable. Women are most malleable. What that means is it's easier for the women to blend. And so a woman comes into a new community, she makes new friends, she goes out because she's thinking of the family. She's thinking of, what walks in here? So the wife goes out, she probably gets a job, and then she starts to work. And then the man has refused to, the ego thing is not going out. And after a while, you realize that this woman is making more money, she's bringing everything home. Then it becomes challenge. Ideally, it should not be a challenge, right? But it becomes a challenge. In the UK, for example, 48% of divorces in the UK is attributed to unreasonable behavior. What is unreasonable behavior? Unreasonable behavior is a situation where people leave Africa and come to the diaspora and still expect their spouses to act like the African women in the diaspora. And a lot of women are actually going through divorce as a result of this at the moment. Now, so we need to understand the nuances of living in a structured system. UK is systems driven. In Nigeria, if you were supposed to fly in a plane from Lagos to Abuja, and a commissioner or a minister, federal minister, is supposed to be on that plane and is running late, you know what they're going to do? They will ground the plane for him to come. In the UK, if the Queen is supposed to get on a train and the train is 7 a.m., the train will leave without her, because the train is no respecter of person, it's a systems train. So when our people migrate, they need to understand that they've left a third world economy into a first world economy, and which means they now need to humble themselves to learn first world thinking. This is the greatest battle our people face, because they still want to come here and think. So there are people who are in the UK, Manchester, but mentally they are in Cameroon, in the UK. They are in Angola, in the UK. They are in Uganda. They are in Ajegunle, in the UK, right? Because their mannerism, behavior, worldview, thinking, even the friends they are keeping are all those kind of people, right? And so if we don't become students of the culture of the new environment we live in, to understand it and to learn how to navigate it, we will not make a headway. And so if you know about the first world countries, Information is critical. If you don't have one information, it can set you back for 10 years, right? And so when our people come in with the software from Africa, and then they are unwilling to shift a bit to understand the dynamics and the rules of engagement of the land where they're in, is going to be a big, big issue. That is the most important cross-cultural challenge we're going to have. The other thing is the fact that when we escape from Africa, we're excited that we escape, that we lose ourselves. We lose our language, we lose our culture, we don't have anything to do with our people, and then we don't understand the challenges a typical child is going to face. Your child is going to be in the class for the first time with all white audience. That has a psychological effect. How have you prepared your child to navigate that? Your child is going to be faced with what looks like racism. How is your child able to respond to that? Right. So these are critical issues that we need to navigate and we need to be aware of. And if we understand that better, I think we will get it right, and then we'll be able to navigate everything we need to navigate in the diaspora. Yeah. You're on mute.
You are muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you very much. You said that as students, we need to relearn and unlearn all the things of the past so that we can adapt to the new culture. Just like putting new wine in the old bottle, that will not give us any results. Thank you very much. There's somebody asked a question. It says sometimes we can do all this and the kids still rebel. How do you approach that?
The question I'm going to ask you is, when you say you have done all this, what is the all this that you have done? As a strategist, I can show you 1,001 things you have not done. I can show you what is wrong, what is missing, because it's like saying that after you have sent a child to terrorist camp, ISIS camp, you can still do everything that terrorists should do, and your child will still emerge a born-again Christian. He will never be a born-again Christian. He's going to be a suicide bomber, right? Because the system radicalizes him to think in a particular way. So oftentimes what we call rebellion, I even need to define what is rebellion. If your child is rebelling, means your child is reacting to something. What is your child reacting to? Is your child reacting to your hypocrisy? Is your child reacting to your yelling and shouting and screaming? Is your child reacting to the fact that you are doing things without considering the nuances of his reality? For example, if your child is a Gen Z or Alpha, and then you are taking decisions for him, your child can be rebellious, and you are wondering, why are you rebellious? Because you grew up from the standpoint of you can't challenge your parents, but the children you're raising are not like that. So everything you're trying to do, if your child goes contrary, if you have a contrary opinion, you think your child may not be rebellious. So I would like to explore to know exactly what's your definition of rebellion, what exactly is your child dealing with. And when parents say to me that, oh, my child is troubled, my child is on drugs, my child is dealing with some form of addiction, oftentimes a trauma response. And we've helped a whole lot of parents recover their children just by critical intervention. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that helped. Thank you very much for that. The next one is, how can family communicate better when there are generational differences in cultural understanding?
Well, that's a very good question. If there are generational differences, the older generation must learn the way of the new generation and then figure out, because every generation comes with its rules of engagement. So you need to figure out the rules of engagement of the new generation. We say that the greatest enemies of the new move are the custodians of the old move. Not because they are wicked, but because they are fixated on the old, that they want to project the old on the new. That's why a lot of parents want their children to behave like them. Your child should not behave like you, because your child belongs to the future, you belong to the past. And so what they need to do, they need to create a system. For example, you create a system called the family governance system, which consists of your family vision, your family values. It consists of your DNA creed, and then the legends of your family. Once you create that system, what you now do is reinvention. To now say, okay, we have a new generation. How do we adapt? And how do we communicate using the language of the new generation? In fact, if you have multi-generation within the family, it should be an asset, not a disadvantage, because the older person can actually sit with them and teach them stories about what used to be. And then they can talk about their nuances and teach the older the new dance steps. So it should be an asset, but usually what is missing is that governance system, because many of us are emotional, we're not systems driven. If you build an effective family governance system, you'll realize how beautiful it can be when you have multi-generation within the family system.
Thank you very much. So different culture is a blessing and not, it shouldn't be a curse. So we should learn, reinvent ourselves to adapt. The last one from me says, can you share strategies to help parents and children connect emotionally, even if they are experiencing culture differently?
Very simple. Start open day in your family. Open day is the day of the week in which everyone is permitted to say things the way they want to say. The rule during open day is nobody gets angry. 2, you can't be defensive. 3, you can't use what is said against the person that said it. And number 4, if what is said is significant, you need to change it. You can't be angry. You can't be defensive. You can't use what is said against the person that said it. If what is said is significant, you need to change it. Now, if you have that forum within your family, then it will be a place where people can let out their pent-up emotion and share what they don't agree with, and then you can address it. But if you don't have that, people will be hurting each other and they will keep it within themselves. And one day everything will come out and it will burst open and it becomes a big problem that you can't deal with. So that's why we say that in the diaspora is about systems, not emotion. Africa is emotion, not system. Your response has got to be a strategic response. And in the pillars of strategy, what outcome do we want? This is the type of family we want to raise. What is our internal capacity, which will reveal your gap, and what is the operating environment, right? So the open day solves this problem that you have raised right now. And I think that helps everyone out there.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Like mine, we have a family system where we call it family meeting, but yours is an open day. So we do it like once a month. Now for the kids to vent, bring out everything, then we learn from each other. This is very, very practical. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Any more question, Mrs. Bang?
There is no more question on the charts, at all. I think we have scattered on the table. There is no more question at all. Where did she go again? Okay, there is no more question. I think we are just trying to assimilate, digest, reflect on how to put all of these things into action points. So whilst people are recovering, they've sent their appreciation and everything. So yeah, I don't have any more questions. I'm just laughing, but yeah. That's all I have to say. Angel, thank you so much. Yeah,
You're welcome.
I will leave it to it. Are you done? Okay, right. Thank you so much, PF. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time. Where are you? Where is he? Where is he? I'm not done, PF. Oh, okay. Anyway, PF has had to drop off. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This has been so, I don't know what to say. This has been so amazing. It's been so amazing. What is your key takeaway from you? Because I know that you have been typing, you have been writing things that resonate with you or just echoing PF's voice. But what are the things you are going to take away? What are the things that you are going to take away? Because there are so many things that has been said today. I'll really ask you for one favor. Share these videos with your friends, with your family, and with people. And please do where to subscribe to this channel so that when we drop valuable insights, there will be people that will be there to receive it. That is what we are looking for. We are looking for people to share this so that there will be more people that will hear this information, because these are really vital things. There is something that I've observed in the diaspora. A lot of people are so reactive. They are so reactive. We have to learn how to be proactive. I get phone calls. I talk to people. They are only taking actions when things has deteriorated so much. That is not how it should be. If we are ready, if we always take proactive approach, we see that there are some battles that we don't even need to fight. Time is of the essence. Collaboration, not competing, not comparing. That is what has been echoed. A lot has been said. Speaker one, speaker two, myself, and PF as well. We have said a lot of things tonight. It's not like we don't have what to do. We have a lot to do. However, we must take action, because if not, all these hours, 2.5 hours in the morning and then 2.5 hours in the evening, would have been wasted if no action is taken. So I am asking you and implore you to please take action and do something with it. Let it be a difference. Let your children feel the difference in your home. Let it feel the difference in your marriage. Let it be difference, because if we do not support and work together, then there's going to be lots of issue. That is not our portion. On that note, I am inviting you all again to my book launch December 7th online. It's going to be on YouTube. So if you can join us 12 o'clock, that will be really, really good. Yes, we need to be proactive and not reactive. Thank you so much. We have stuck to our time. I'm going to bring all the speakers, all the anchors up. If you have any final takeaway before we go. What is your key takeaway? What is your key takeaway? Ronnie, where are you? Angel, please say something before we just drop.
Okay, my key takeaway said it talked about Africa being emotional, and diaspora is all about the system. That's why things work here. And a lot of people will say, maybe if I get there, things will be better. But when you get here, they're not ready to change that mentality. Like you said, putting the new wine in the old bottle and you're expecting the same, like a better result. It's not going to work that way. We need to, when we get to this new system, we need to relearn, we need to change our mindset, we need to adapt, give ourselves time so that things can get better. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You've been an excellent anchor. Ronnie, what is your final word before we drop off? Ronnie, where are you? You are not showing though, in case you're talking and you're muted. Okay, if Ronnie is not able to join us, we are going to tell you good nights. And these videos will be here. If you want to catch a replay again, please do well to come back and just watch and digest it. On that note, good night and God bless. Thank you so much.
Good
I
night.
appreciate
Thank you very
and
much.
celebrate all of you. Bye.
Bye.